Hello and welcome to Ruler Waves 3, playing as Japan on Super Large++. Starting 1890, we are now in 1907. Episode 28, it's peacetime. We'll do the start of year review, we'll play through the year, we'll talk a little bit about submarines and trade warfare and anti-submarine warfare, and we will do some design work. So let's jump in. New year, new presentation. So, 1907. Been playing for nearly 20 years. Pretty cool. We've come a long way. Tension is low, moderate with Russia and France. Recently concluded a war, so this is pretty normal. We have an alliance with Great Britain and also with the US now. And Great Britain remains allied to China. We are up to 26,000 in docks, thanks to another dock expansion event. The rest of the world is in the same ballpark except China. We have dropped to 0 as a result of some battles that we fought during the war, and it stays at 0. Base resources is up a whopping 1,500, so clearly we got some extra resources from that peace settlement beyond the colonies that we claimed. Would have been even higher if we had just taken the war reparations. Colony resources are up quite a bit because we conquered more areas and we also claimed some areas as war reparation. Budget tanked an astonishing 12 points from 26 to 14. So the budget is nearly halved. Well, not quite halved, but it's a massive reduction. Build to upkeep ratio is fine for peacetime, but note I'm overspending pretty heavily. So that ratio will be less stellar when this balances out, and I will only have 16,000 in construction and still about 8,000 in upkeep, so not so impressive. Yeah, so it says 22,730 here, but that's kind of inflated. We have way more money than we need in the bank. Never wrong to have some money in the bank, but you can have too much money and get hit by negative events where they take away your budget, give it to the army. We are in the red, but that's a temporary measure. I would say we are definitely in the B tier here. Our fleet is still on the small side, but that's not a disadvantage at this stage because so much of what has already been built or is building now or will be built in the near future, it's all gonna be crap and will have to be scrapped eventually. So we're just unburdened by many old weak ships right now. So fleet size is lean. Fleet composition is okay. The overall quality of our ships compared to our competitors is good. We are transitioning into the Dreadnought era with the first 4 battle cruisers, now rebuilt with torpedo bulges, or TPS-1, remember from last episode. But we are a little bit slow to the party. Great Britain already has lots of battleships and battle cruisers. Germany has launched a battle cruiser, but it's not important. And already you can see that we have a slight qualitative edge here. They have 8 ships at 144,400. We have 4 ships at 90,800. This will be significant later on, I think. Now Spain is also building, so only poor China has nothing building. But we will of course have to build some battleships soon, just to stay with the others, and then we have to build more battle cruisers, and yes, it will be a struggle. So budget needs to come up. Research is now still 12%. I reduced subdivision and damage control to medium because we now have TPS. TPS 2 is not so far away, so we'll definitely grab that if we can, but that's a tech that is sometimes skipped because it's not a 100% chance of researching it, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But the last year, lots of stuff happened. We got Michelle Trust Block that reduces engine overheat, and we also got an additional percentage saving tech, so 2 techs there. We got improved annealing on the armor, weight, that's quality improvement. We got the hull tech. We had another 2 fire control techs, or hitting power or hitting chance. We got the triple turret. We got we researched X turret, superimposed X turret, and then we got 3 centerline turrets as a bonus. Probably because it would be impossible to imagine a ship with A, Y, and a superimposed X without having at least 3 centerline turrets. So there's probably some code there that if you skip 3 centerline and then get X turret, then you get this tech. Another armor piercing tech, a sub tech, and a high explosive tech. Guns are okay for now, but really we'd love some quality 0 6-inch guns, and of course now we are waiting for the big guns, the quality 0 14-inch guns. In particular, those will start appearing in the not so distant future, so we'll be looking out for those. That will change ship design quite a bit, I would say. 11, 12-inch guns, fine for this period and for destroying legacy ships, but going into the battleship era, the dreadnoughts and the super dreadnoughts, it's like slapping the opponent with some wet noodles. It's not gonna work. Even if you put your whole magazine, hundreds of rounds into a big enemy battleship, it might not do much. Intelligence, I'd still love to steal more. Germany, France, because they have relatively high tech. Great Britain, because I don't want to annoy them. Spain and China, because why not? I already had decent intel with them because of the war, so yeah. Let's talk rules. Yes, subs. We have subs now, so we can talk briefly about subs. What can subs do for you? How do you use your subs? My subs have been sitting in the corner up in Northeast Asia, doing very little. They scored like occasionally 5 points of trade warfare. Exactly why the French and later the Spanish were trading up there, I don't know, but the game, so fine. Well, during battle, you will often see a few 2, 3-ish of your own subs arrayed on the battlefield, and these can attack enemy ships or your own ship if you stumble across them. Later, you will have your own aircraft attack your own ships. So, but the same can happen with friendly subs, so you might avoid sort of running right over them. They can help with spotting enemies and report it, but that's more of a thing later when they can actually report their spottings. So it's mainly they can launch attacks if the enemy happens to drive across them. They have a little attack radius because they have torpedoes, and I think maybe they are sort of moving in that general area. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they are static, I don't know. They can also initiate attack events. They can sink or damage enemy ships, and enemy subs can sink or damage your ships. They can even attack you when in port, or mothballed ships. All of your ships can be the target of this. Anti-sub warfare helps mitigate this. It can become a pretty big factor if the enemy has 100 subs and you have weak anti-sub warfare. Then you could have typically destroyers and the like sunk every round, and major ships damaged or sunk outright. TPS, torpedo protection system, is valuable against such attacks. Definitely changes the chance of outright sinking. But I mean, we've all had brand new TPS-4 ships sunk outright by subs, so there is no guarantee, but better to have a carrier 4 months in dry dock for repairs than having it sunk outright. And there is, of course, commerce raiding. That's always a thing with submarines. This causes unrest. When you send subs out to raid, you will see these pop-up events telling you that sinkings are affecting your unrest. So you can see enemy sub-activity directly impacting your unrest level. And with enough unrest, the government could collapse and there could be an end of the war. So you can actually win wars through commerce trading. It is definitely possible if you go sort of all in on it. You also force, in addition to these unrest increases, you can force the opponent to invest in anti-sub warfare, so destroyers, corvettes, or armed merchant cruisers. Yeah. Subs are most useful if you're the one being blockaded, or if there is no blockade, I guess. But it's rather rare in this game, I would say, because only need 10% more than the other guy, so sooner or later one will be blockading the other, usually, and also for long periods of time. So if you plan on sort of defeating your opponent and keeping him blockaded, then subs are much less useful, because when you are already blockading someone, their merchant ships aren't going anywhere, so there's very little to be had by putting your subs to sea and hunting for merchantmen that do not exist. So this is really, investing heavily in subs is primarily a defensive measure, one that is most beneficial for nations that are easily or typically blockaded, that need some way of fighting back, an alternative way of fighting back. And for example, for Russia, that easily gets blockaded in the Baltic there, subs can be super useful. Germany, absolutely. Anyone that has to fight Great Britain, you could say, could have good use of subs. Austria-Hungary is also maybe a good candidate for subs. Japan, not as much, because the chance of us being blockaded by anyone is so minuscule that, limited value. But we can, even if we're not blockaded, and we're not blockading anyone, so if fighting the US in the Pacific or something, then subs and trade warfare could have an impact. You could send your subs all across the Pacific and not and engage in somewhat effective trade warfare. Submarines have 3 modes, and this is described in the manual as well. Basically, either balanced price rules, that's a balance between attacking merchant ship and supporting the fleet, or you could just go full fleet support, and you will have minimal impact on enemy trade. If you're blockading someone, you can put your subs on fleet support. There is no reason to have them on price rules, I would say. Unrestricted is heavily skewed towards trade warfare. Your subs will appear more rarely in battles and really help out less with those sinking events between turns. So, yeah, I will go all in on the trade warfare, and this will, I would say, greatly increase the effectiveness of trade warfare. But there is a drawback to it. It can lead to events where neutral nations have increased tensions with you. Basically, the US gets upset that you keep sinking neutral ships. As an example from the real world. Yeah, another thing is that non-coastal submarines can operate. They can go anywhere, but operating them where you do not have friendly bases reduces their effectiveness. Large or long-range subs can operate more freely. They can operate in adjacent areas even without any bases and not suffer any penalties, but they have a built-in penalty to survivability. So, yeah. I typically play this game if we go meta talk to fight the battles. The bigger, the better. So for me, submarines are of limited value. I really should try a game sometime as a nation that needs to lean into subs to explore this topic further. But I primarily build them for role-playing reasons, spotting in battles, and forcing the AI to spend resources hunting them. I don't do the full trade warfare thing. I just sink the enemy fleet. There are 5 types. You have the coastal type, the only one that we've unlocked so far. They are cheap and build rather quickly. It's 14 months, I think. Their effectiveness is limited, and they are easily sunk, more easily than other subs. And they cannot move between sea areas in wartime. The exception would be like Germany can move their coastal subs between Northern Europe and the Baltic during war, for example. There are some exceptions. The standard medium sub, we haven't unlocked that one yet. That seems to be a good balance between cost and build speed. They can go anywhere and can operate at full effectiveness as long as you have a base there. They can operate in adjacent areas as well, but at a penalty. We don't know exactly how big that penalty is, but I think you can safely operate them in adjacent areas. Just don't overdo it. So medium range subs could go from Europe to the Caribbean, to West Africa, to North America, and operate at a penalty. Yes, they will be less effective, but they can do it. You jump over to the long range subs, and they can operate without penalty. So you could send the long range subs to North America or the Caribbean, but they are extremely expensive to build, take a long time to build. They also have a built-in vulnerability, so they are easier to, I guess, spot and sink. So I don't think it's very cost effective. And I think they can even operate in areas far, far from any base, but maybe then at a penalty. So as Japan, I could send them to Northern Europe, but it would be a hopeless proposition. They would just be sunk en masse. So maybe if you wanted to go all in on unrestricted trade warfare and cover the maximum number of areas, then you could consider some long-range subs. This would, of course, then force the AI to spread out his trade protection ASV assets even further, which would limit his ability to cover sort of the most important areas. Then you have the medium sub-width mines down in the left corner. That's basically a sub with fewer torpedoes. It has torpedoes, but it has fewer. But it has mines, so it adds to the total mine laying capacity of that sea area. And also when used in trade warfare, either on price rules or all out, if these mine subs sink trade vessels, there's less of a negative effect. Neutrals won't be so upset. For some reason, being mined and drowning is okay, but getting torpedo, that's very, very bad. It's also okay if the subsurfaces and sinks you with its deck gun, but torpedo, no. That's bad. And finally, we have the missile subs, the SSGs. They can be pretty effective, especially if you spam them in large numbers. They are quite effective at sinking stuff. And they can also appear in battles and actually reach out with their missiles and hammer enemy ships. Kind of fun. I don't do a lot of that, but it's definitely an option. So coastal subs I would build in the beginning before you have other subs. And then I would switch mostly to medium subs, but I would keep some coastal subs as well, maybe as much as 50-50, because it seems to me that if you only have medium subs, they will tend to get detected and sunk at a higher rate. But if you have some coastal subs, they are the ones, not exclusively, but they are the ones that will be found and sunk. But overall, you will have more of your subs sink if you mix this up. If you go all medium, you will have fewer sinking, but I think overall it's better to mix it. Medium subs, yeah, with mine subs, I'm not that into mine, so I don't find it especially interesting, and I don't do a lot of trade warfare anyway, so it's if I wanted to do all-out trade warfare before 1930, I could maybe do this, but not for me. Long-range subs I would only build for role-playing purposes. They are not cost-effective in my mind. Would rather have more medium subs operating at a penalty or try to get more bases. So, yeah. SSGs, yeah, once you get those, you don't build any of the other. Just forget that coastal medium mines or long-range subs exist. Just build the SSGs if you want to build any submarines at all. Trade warfare, yeah. Unrestricted warfare is a lot more effective, especially if you're spread out to cover a large area of the globe with all your glorious subs. Spreading out is good in any case, but to me it seems that if you spread out, that gives you more sinking opportunities, forces the enemy to spread out anti-sub assets. You can even move your stuff around a little bit to make life difficult for him. But it also feels that unrestricted warfare is the most effective if you spread out. If that makes sense. Yeah. And more about the long-range sub. So basically, if you want to do this, I would sort of build up a base network first if I could. That's super helpful. So as Japan, if we have bases all over the world, that will be highly effective. So spread out and turn on unrestricted warfare. But accept that tensions will likely rise. I remember when I tested this out once, I think I created 2 of those event that spike tensions with neutrals in a row. That took tension tensions up quite a bit, and that was just right after starting unrestricted warfare. Of course, a bit of randomness involved here, but be aware that this might happen. You could be the number one enemy of the entire world, except your allies, of course. And your guys you're already fighting, so that's not an issue. Yes, and established bases, that's better than having long-range subs. And even if you don't have long-range now bases, then just use normal subs. Raiders can be an alternative to subs, or maybe a complement to them. You can raid with heavy cruisers, light cruisers, seaplane carriers, this AV, armed merchant cruisers. And this can help with sinkings and can therefore drive up unrest even more for the AI, and it's a compounding effect. Long-range subs are not expansive. Maybe they should be, but they are expensive. That's what I tried to write anyway. Range and size matters, so a long-range CA will be worth more than a normal range DL, for example. And there is also less chance of running out of fuel, being interred, having to scuttle, that sort of thing. High speed will also help raiders catch stuff. So armed merchant cruisers, not so great maybe for speed, but they can be big or small. But armed merchant cruisers raid through mass, not quality, I would say. The drawback, on the plus side, you draw out some AI ships that must now do trade protection. You draw some of his cruisers. The drawback is, of course, that you have to send some of your ships to do the raiding, and having big DAs on raiding duties, that's somewhat inefficient, I would say. So you have to find the balance that works for you. But it can be a complement to subs and help think even more ships. Again, if you're already blockading the enemy, this is much less useful. So to win through trade warfare, you must basically sink enough ships that you drive unrest to critical levels, like 9 and above for the AI. But you can, of course, not see his exact unrest or what he does to bring it down, but just avoid letting him have any big naval wins, because that will bring his unrest down. So just keep up the pressure. Yeah, trade warfare is a war of attrition, so you're gonna lose subs every turn. So you have to, at the very least, replenish your losses. So if you're losing 4 subs per turn, then you need to build at least 4, but preferably 5 or 6. And that's going to cost you quite a bit, I would say. Because having 4 or 6 subs building every month, and they take 14 just for the coastal type and longer for the others, then you have 100 subs building at any one time for several hundred monies each turn. That that can get very expensive. But at this level, then you can sustain the trade warfare part indefinitely until the enemy collapses. And when that's over, you are stuck with a crap ton of submarines that still building, that you can then scrap, and you can scrap the old ones and sort of get back down to a reasonable level. But again, it's not something I find super interesting and that I haven't really explored in depth. I have explored subs in trade warfare, but I've never gone all in on trade warfare. Just doesn't interest me. Anti-sub warfare does interest me, because I don't like having my ships mined. We talked about that in a previous episode, and I don't like having my ships torpedoed and sunk between turns or even in battles. Sorry, again, never goes away. No. Having a high anti-sub rating on a ship, such as a destroyer, having a big destroyer with full extra depth charges and all the other bells and whistles and having 10 plus in ASV rating. That's all well and good. And it will increase the chance of you sinking a sub if you find it, or if you get an attack chance with that super destroyer of yours. So, and it's also, of course, related to the reliability of said sub. So if you intercept a very old, bad sub, then the chance of sinking it, even with a low ASV rating, is going to be somewhat higher. But I would say that experience, not just my own experience, but that of others as well, is that the number of ASV ships is the most crucial factor in determining how many attempts at killing a sub you get. The number of enemy subs in that area, of course, because this is area based, so it doesn't help to have a lot of trade protection or active destroyers in a sea area if there are no subs there, but that other sea area is full of enemy subs, but you don't really have anything to counter them with there. So ideally, you would like to have hordes of ASV ships with very high ASV ratings, because then you would find a lot of subs or get a lot of attack chances, and then you would also sink a lot of them. Yay! But that is usually not viable because there is a cost factor involved here. So you have to sort of decide that between the two. You want to have a lot of small, relatively poor ASV ships that generate a lot of sub interceptions and attack chances, or do you want to have fewer with higher quality? In my mind, these are not entirely exclusive because I frequently use my older, smaller destroyers in a trade protection capacity, and they have some ASV, but they have mass. I have many of them, so I get a lot of attack chances, and maybe they don't sink a sub, maybe they just drive it away or whatever. But then on my bigger fleet destroyers, then they naturally come with a little bit of tonnage investment, but not too much. You can stick on some extra ASV gear on them, and then they can have a rather high ASV rating. So you have both good ships and a mass of older, smaller stuff. I don't usually build a lot of corvettes for ASV duties. I usually make do with my old destroyers. But you could build KEs, like I say here. And you can also build armed merchant cruisers. And in a particular period, they can also hunt subs. They have an ASV rating. They are sort of Q ships, so they are pretending to be merchantmen, and when the sub surfaces to take them out with the deck gun, they ha-ha, gotcha! And then the sub dies, or maybe the merchant cruiser dies. Not a job I would have wanted. So it's a balance of sorts between number of sub-hunters and quality of sub-hunters, but I find that quality naturally comes of your fleet destroyers, and mass naturally comes of your old destroyers, and maybe KEs and armed merchant cruisers, those quick builds during war, if you really, really need a lot of extra ASV volume. Merchant cruisers also seem to soak quite a few losses that would otherwise take out your destroyers or even bigger ships, so there can be some value in that, unless you're deep into the convert to deep lane carriers before war's end or something like that. These are going to be discarded after the war anyway, so once built, if they sink, that's I wouldn't say a gain for you, but you lose nothing. So absolutely worth thinking about. KEs again, I don't see the value here, because if you're going to build a small quick build KEs, they're gonna be taken away at war's end. Yeah, I guess it's kind of the same as our merchant cruiser in that regard. Later game, subs become much harder to sink. They have very high reliability ratings, and they are good at finding and sinking stuff. And they are also harder to find and sink. So instead of sinking lots and lots of subs every turn, you'll just rarely find subs and sink them. But here, higher ASV ratings really do help, and you'll find that properly equipped light cruisers and destroyers and even carriers have a good chance of finding and sinking subs. If you want to read more on subs, and it says mines behind my camera here, I'll add this link in the description, of course, since you can't tap the screen. But this link goes to RVT Wargames, Dicky, and he has a very good video that he put out a while back regarding subs, trade warfare, and also mine warfare. So I recommend this. It's the best guide I could find on YouTube for subs and mine. So here we are again, start of 1907. Most fleets have stood down their ships, but you can see there are still a few stacks of Spanish and American and whatever ships. Those are the leftovers of the recent war. I'm thinking most of these will be returning home soon. France, Russia maybe will keep some going because tensions are a little bit higher. Lots of stuff constructing, but balance should be good soon. We also have 2 subs finishing and some fortifications. So finances will be okay soon. Yeah. This one have not as of yet actually reorganized my divisions like I talked about. I figured I'd do that once more ships arrive. Anaba. Rep cementite. That's armor tech, but you knew that already, I would guess. So there you go. One is 2 months away. Well, let's take a moment to appreciate the AI's dreadnought and battlecruiser design. Let's look at Great Britain first, because we know a little bit about their ships. So clearly they are using 11-inch guns, same as I am. And this is a dreadnought, not a battlecruiser, okay? So this is the Hexnaught layout. This is a traditional Hexnaught. It's got a decent belt. Speed is slower than my Redreads. So that's not good. Secondary armament is fine. Tertiary battery, I'm not sure what it's gonna use it for, but okay. Torpedo boats and the like. So it has an 8-gun broadside. If I can set up my battlecruisers, they also have 8-gun cross-deck broadsides, but I've saved weight on 2 turrets, and of course my battlecruiser is 9 knots faster. It's bigger, yes, but not that much bigger. 22,500 to 19,700. This could of course be incorrect. This could be 19 or even 20 knots. That could definitely happen. So I'm gonna err on the side of caution and say that this is 19-20 knots actually. But it is pretty slow, and it's a wasteful turret arrangement and light guns. Now they have Invincible and Lion, both with 12-inch guns. Those are probably -1 quality 12-inch guns. Or I imagine that they would have built their battleships with 12-inch guns as well. But I don't know that. But this is not really a battle cruiser. This is a somewhat faster, more heavily armored heavy cruiser, I would say. It's 4 aft, the secondary, tertiary batteries, the speed. The armor is more battle cruiser than cruiser, but you can see what I mean. This Lion is said to be just 22 knots. That cannot be, because then it would not be a battle cruiser. Oh, it's probably 24 knots. Could be 25 knots, but they are not fast, not compared to mine. Now you see why I'm building faster than I have to, because then my ships will last for as long as they are combat relevant. They will also be speed relevant. That's the thinking anyway. I don't know a lot about this. This is the half hex knot. That was the title I gave to mine. So slow, but 8 12-inch gun could have quality 0 12-inch guns, a 6-gun broadside. It's okay. Good belt. Could be faster. Russia still building. Germany, we can only see this battle cruiser. And again, it's more of a heavy cruiser, I would say. Only 2 turrets. So doesn't really... No one else has completed anything, so we cannot look at it. No. Let's see if we have any decent commanders. Incompetent. Well connected. Oh. Lots of below average. Some average. We have a loose cannon. Do we want a loose cannon? We just want a stable guy. We want that stable guy. This old cruiser definitely needs a loose cannon aboard. Ah, yeah, okay. I'll take that. Absolutely. Then we are clearly switching to 12-inch guns. Now there is no reason to continue using 11-inch. Difference isn't huge, and there is actually quite a lot of tonnage to be gained by using 11-inch guns, especially if you go multi-turret. But multi-turret also weighs a lot if you want to armor it properly. So, but okay, cool. 12-inch guns. Now we are looking for quality 0 6-inch guns and 14-inch guns. I just had a very quick look at the Shinano, the battleship design. If we go to 12-inch guns, then not even 28,000 tons would give us a balanced design. So it may be that it would be better to build it with 11-inch guns. Huge weight savings, and the 12-inch guns all that much more powerful than 11-inch. So something to consider. But we have to keep building the docks anyway. It's hitting thick and faster. Prime Minister has made a foreign policy gap. How do I pronounce this? Gaffy? Gaff? Ask to smooth things over by the naval secretary, probably. I think they have some issues here with line breaks. This one, prestige and tension, that's good. If we don't want tension, we can do this prestige drop. But this is much more appealing because budget and tension. And we love tension. So it's of course Russia who's at it again. So that will bump the tension. Rear Admiral Miyabara has retired. Okay. Oh, a full 1,000 in dock size. That's interesting. And maybe we can get this all the way up to yellow very quickly. That would be grand. And the final pre-dreadnought has arrived. Slow and steady wins the race. So now we have our full, I would say, pre-dreadnought fleet built. We have the first two already obsolete light cruisers. Yes, it's possible, but it costs an enormous amount of money. I could make it cost even more by tweaking the turret armor. Probably do a normal engine. Yes, it would be very similar to our other light cruiser, and my light OCD wants to do this, but you can see it would be very wasteful. This is a much better ship, more in line with times. Now, we could maybe do it if we are extremely bored, but it's not a good investment. Absolutely not. Yeah. Oh. I mean, it's 12-inch gun, so it's not bad. I mean, a giant leap forward, but it requires good fire control. Otherwise, you just have to get in close. Tension with Russia reduced. So, yeah. Increases with China. That's interesting. No, now we are in the black here. That's good. Just sticking them with the other obsolete stuff. In terms of rebuilding these guys, it's not really that useful. I mean, we can rebuild stuff and give it more speed now that we have turbines, but imagine trying to rebuild it. We cannot do anything with this weapon. Then we would have to drop to 5, 4, and then it's a completely different beast. Then we would have to replace machinery, and we can never do more than 24 knots. We have a lot of wasted tonnage. That's not viable. We can, of course, just do this and get the speed up to an acceptable level. But 24 knots, that's barely enough for now, and it takes a year to refit it. So by the time it arrives, certainly it could keep pace with the enemy's legacy ship. If I had infinite ammo, infinite money, this would be fun, of course, but I don't have infinite ammo. So it's just very wasteful. So we will just let them sit there and wait until we wrap them, basically. We should also maybe build some more colonial corvettes. We already talked about that part. I will get around to it eventually, or probably just forget that. Coastal fortifications, building. I don't have forts. Sky and these 3 small islands. Not especially useful, maybe. We'll get around to that also eventually. Still building. Make the agent a national hero. We could definitely use the tension. Now we have a full-on China spree here. 1, 2, 3, 4 increases, then 2 reductions. 1 because of the recent war, and 1 because they don't want to provoke us. And Spain increases one step further because we are being expansionist. Italy doesn't want to provoke us. France is reduced. Okay, a pretty big shift. We sort of need to get attention into the yellow. We are still at 14, I think, or did it increase slightly? Think we can mothball much more. New docks completed. Djibouti, Madagascar, Hebrides. 2 ships have finished working up. 4 centerline turrets. Okay, now we need to complete. No, we can't do that. We need the B turret first. We don't need it. But we can definitely go away from the cross-deck thing. So only those battle cruisers will be built with larger torpedoes or subs. No, don't drop. Because now they are rather far advanced, and I don't think they are bad. I think they will do a pretty good job now early on. 29,000. Let's get building, or let's get designing in this case. So we've had so many dock expansion events lately that I have decided to look into maxing out the design. And I've dusted off this BB 1907 Shinano. That was not a joke, but it was more of like a concept study. What can we do with cross-deck fire and so forth? We have 4 centerline turrets now, so that does actually mean that we could do 4 centerline turrets with a total of, I guess, 12 guns, which is basically the same as this ship. But then I decided that these designers, they are pretty set in their ways, and I don't want to have that blast effect that midship turrets do to secondaries. So I figured, why not see if I could make something out of this. So at the Shinano 1907A, it's increased from 27,500 to 29,000. And then I can put another inch on conning tower and turret, and another 2 inches on the secondaries. Yes, I know this is wasteful, but bear with me. Now these are pretty heavily armored for the time period and should be able to tank some shots, and I have 5 turrets, so that gives me a pretty good hit chance. And these are also well armored guns. It's weird but strangely appealing to me. Also put in some additional 6-inch guns. So here it is. I'm the total is negative here, so we need a tech breakthrough, or I need to tweak it just a little bit before we put it into production. I could take off 5 rounds or something. I kept the 11-inch guns because they are practically identical to the 12-inch guns. The 12-inchers have a little bit of extra range, 1,000 yards extra. They hit a little bit harder at point blank range and extreme range, but in that 10,000 yard area where we'll be fighting, they are practically the same. Rate of fire is similar. Damage is, of course, slightly higher for 12-inch guns, but not all that much, I would say. It's kind of a fun ship. Need to have fun. And I'm designing and building this Okinawa class. It's just cold turbine, reliable, no armor, so it's derived from my existing colonial cruisers. Nothing special. I don't need this many guns, but we like the design traditions here in the Imperial Japanese Navy. So let's design those two. So completely different ships. Ship, of course, since it's so much bigger, so we will have to. And yeah, if we are going bigger anyway, so why not go all in? 9 ships. See Okinawa. That's fine. It's overgunned. We know this. Oh, sad. But it had to happen sooner or later. We've been at it since 1890 or 91. 90, I think. Was one of the first things that happened. First thing that happened was I took South Korea. Then we had the alliance. Then we had the war with China. Libya. Italy is sending a force there. This is kind of pointless because there is no way Italy is going to affect us in any way. So it's my prestige, so I'm gonna just do this. We could just do this. They will probably ignore us. Oh, yeah, good. I mean, if there is war, we can steal their little colony. A tiny 25 knot cruiser. Large torpedo warheads. Explosive sweeps. That's anti-sub warfare, I think. Tension. Go to the build screen. Let's start with a couple of them. We just do 4 when we're at it. Hey, plotting table. That's fire control, presumably. Torpedoes. And the Germans don't even know it. I like so. I also started another build of my docks. I'm still undeveloped. I think that's just hugely unfair. Yay! Yay! No competitions. Anti-sub capability, yes. Fleet tactics. Probably nice. We're playing on captain mode where it is less important, but still nice. Improved weight control. Quality steels for shells. That's probably armor piercing then. Spain. And we get another round of China. Yeah, already 160 tons in the positive. Oh, looks like I didn't actually save it with the extra. Or tertiary guns, so now I'm back. Okay, man, just let's wait for that next few breakthroughs before we start building it. We don't have a lot of money anyway. Make the spy a national hero. Small tube boilers too. Improved weight control, yeah. Why do you tempt me, game? Nice. China is up for grabs again. Yes, this is a proper battle cruiser. It's relatively fast. Better than cruiser grade armor and 11-inch guns. It's not as good as ours, but it's within shouting distance. Some promotions and abilities. Yeah. Britain now has 14-inch guns. That's relevant because then we know that 14-inch guns are incoming. That makes me a lot less interested in actually building this Shinano. Or we could just build it and wait for even better tech before we go 14-inch. That is also viable. But it's January, it's a new year, so we need to do a new episode and we need to do a new review. And that concludes episode 28. Pretty meaty for a single year. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon.